Good evening, everyone. I've had a few requests that I put together a little video telling you what I'm looking for in your formal report number 2, where you're reflecting on how what you've learned in this course can be applied to your own food system. And I mean, there are a couple of ways to do that, and they're gonna differ radically according to where you are. We have one student on a small Caribbean island, for instance. 99.5% of their food comes from elsewhere. So an imagining of a food system there might involve how they could produce it, or it might involve how they could figure ways to make the transportation of food to that island more sustainable. Uh, Not being that person, it's kind of hard for me to do that. There are also people who live in arid environments, people who live in urban environments. So really, I think the best way I can help here is to give you an idea of how I would do this for my own particular bioregion. And when I was put in this position myself to define my bioregion, I came up with what is politically described a 4-county area at the northern end of the Shenandoah Valley, encompassing the states of Virginia and West Virginia, the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, where I live. Um, this area has a number of characteristics, and looking at those specific characteristics, and with my own prejudice towards how I do things, um, you know, if I was set to this task, I think I would look at what the market and infrastructure realities are, combine those with what I know about my bioregion, and try to figure how um, I could have the most diverse and healthy diet for my community, drawn from within reasonable boundaries. So let me just launch into that for a second, okay? I live right on the Potomac River. The Potomac River empties into the Chesapeake Bay. We're only 100 miles from the coast or so, depending on you take the roads or you fly. Uh, I think it's a good idea in our case to include the seacoast in our food shed so that we have access to seafood. Uh, Also, if you look at the existing economic structure of our area, the regional produce terminal, and if you aren't familiar with that, that's the way that produce is distributed in the modern world. It's sort of like the airports where there's a hub and spoke system, and large scale deliveries go to centralized distribution centers that are every 200 or 300 miles, determined on the distribution network via truck. Okay, ours is in Jessup, Maryland. So food from around the world, in the case of the globalized food system, is collected in Jessup, Maryland, and then distributed in a sort of spoke uh, arrangement out to peripheral areas such as ours. And we're right out at the edge of the distribution system that would come out of Jessup, Maryland, which is about halfway between Baltimore and Washington along Interstate 95. Uh, Pittsburgh is probably the next one west of us, and maybe Richmond or Chattanooga or some sort of place, and they would all radiate out the way that bioregions do. So they have an area that is the periphery for each, and we're on the periphery. So anything that I do in my analysis is going to have to take into account the reality of the Jessup food distribution terminal. Also, uh, I need to take into account the fact that this is a rural area with a favored growing climate, and that we are only 50 miles away from a metropolitan center of 8 million people. So it may well be that when I'm looking at my local food system, I can consider it either as how I'm going to get the food for my town of 5,000 people, or my county of 50,000 people, or how my town and county are going to play into the larger system, which is this metropolitan area, of which we may be their food production area because we're on the urban fringe of that area. So I might want to look at it from either way or both ways, uh, hopefully without losing focus and being able to do this in the length that is specified in the assignment. So if I look at that, what I do is I look at the Jessup Food Mart, and I look at the distribution things. One of the ideas that we had uh, in the group that I'm in, one of the groups I'm involved with that analyzes local food system issues is that there are a large number of trucks delivering food out to our area. All of them have GPS systems, and all of them come out and empty their loads and then go back to Jessup. A great advantage to our production and to the increasing the availability of local food within the existing system. One of the students referred to working this way as weaving into the system. Um, would be to find a way to have the same trucks that are delivering food that isn't grown here to our area take back food that is produced here back to the urban areas that could use it because we're part of their production, so that the production and consumption circle is closed. An idea for doing that is to gather the GPS coordinates of all of the food producers in our region and provide them to the food distribution businesses in Jessup so that they can feed those into the software that drives the distribution routes of their trucks, making it possible for their trucks to drop off food from the centralized place and then, before they return to Jessup, to go around to the farms and pick up the production that is in our bioregion and take it back to Jessup, thereby seriously improving the sustainability of the system if you're going to have a hub and spoke fossil fuel powered system in the first place. Um, so this idea of using the resources of our bioregion, which would include seafood, and playing into the infrastructure of our bioregion, which would include this hub and spoke system that exists all over the United States for the concentration and distribution of food. Those are two ways that one could start to analyze this. Um, we also want to look, though, at how anything that we do affects the current, essentially, relationships between the stakeholders that are in the game now. Uh, this idea of providing GPS coordinates, of course, is a win-win situation. The distributors end up having more truck miles where their trucks are full. The producers end up having a way to get their goods into the city without having to take the time to do it themselves, so they can concentrate on the production of goods, which, if you know many farmers, most of them, that's what they would prefer to be doing rather than having to figure out how to market it. Um, but there are a lot of other players. I happen to be on the board that runs our local farmers market. In order to increase the amount of penetration that we get into our local food community, we want to be where the people are. At the moment, we're downtown. That's good. The town loves it. We like it. But that's not where all the traffic is. All the traffic is out in the Walmart parking lot. And Walmart says it loves local food, so why shouldn't we have our farmers market in the Walmart parking lot? Or maybe have a second farmers market in the Walmart parking lot. Uh, every time you make a change like that, it affects stakeholders. Uh, the the downtown merchants that don't sell food in our town, Charlestown, West Virginia, um, like us being downtown because we bring people downtown who will then shop with them. If we go out to Walmart, all we're doing is increasing the flight from the center that has damaged the downtowns of many uh, towns around the United States. Um, but does Walmart really want us there? Because we're selling local, fresh, and sometimes organic food in their parking lot. Well, yes, they can get a little greenwashing out of that, but we might be taking away business from them. Even when I was in a small town in Vermont many years ago, I discovered that the local supermarket was built on the best bottomland in town, and I set up a deal where I could put a market garden into that bottomland, and then I rented a little building that was on the edge of that bottomland, and I was going to open a farm stand there. And I thought that was a great idea. The owners of the supermarket didn't think it was such a great idea. And in the end, I wasn't able to do it because they enforced some lease provision that prevented anyone from leasing the land around the supermarket for anything that involved food production. So this is what we mean when we say, identify the stakeholders and what their interests are, and try and figure out how you would um, uh, make all of those things fit together in a coherent system. Okay, so I say infrastructure is what interests me. Social relations might interest you. Economic relations might interest you. Uh, Biological production might interest you. But try and come up with a way of looking at your bioregion and its food system resources where you can envision some sort of future system that would be an improvement. And then try and get that into 1,500 words. Have fun. Please, if you want to hit an idea off me, send me an email. I'm trying really well to respond to your emails quickly. You may just get a tiny answer, but it'll be an answer, and we can move forward. If you really feel you need to send me a draft, send me a draft. I won't necessarily go through it in detail, but I'll glance at it and give you an idea whether or not you're going in the right direction. Okay? It's been a great course so far. Thanks a lot for all the energy you put into it. The discussions are fantastic. I can only dip into them every now and then, or I won't be able to get your papers graded. But all in all, it's been a fantastic course, and I'm enjoying it. Thanks a lot.